So, amazing things. What would be an amazing thing for you to do? What would you be amazed if you did it?
I want to be a minister and do sermons.
Okay,
And I'm going to be.
beautiful. What would be an amazing thing somebody else would do?
Write a book.
Okay,
Win the lottery.
win the lottery. How would you do that?
Buy a ticket.
There you go. Want to make sure you do.
Pay off my son's college loans as a single mother.
Beautiful. Or as you. We will not limit you to being a single mother. You must have other qualities. For some of us, it would be amazing if we did the dishes. For some of us, it would be amazing if we cleaned out our closet. For some of us, it would be amazing to get up and go to work, to read a book, to forgive someone, to release a resentment. It's all sorts, to talk or to sing. There's all sorts of amazing things. And some would think, well, what's the big deal on that? That's so little. Everybody's doing that. Well, not everybody. And so, to give yourself credit for the next amazing thing you might consider. Because there's nothing too small to call amazing for the individual who hasn't done it in a while at least. Because the reason you would do it is an act of faith. The reason we do everything is an act of faith, whether you know it or not, whether it's conscious or not. It's an act of faith that my day will be better if I do this. I will shift my feelings if I do this, if I say this, if I pursue this. This week's talk is called After Easter in the Upper Room. The upper room is where Jesus met with his disciples. And according to the Bible, he stuck around for 40 days after the crucifixion. 40 days, and then he went up there and he said, "Pull my finger," to prove that he was him. That's not what he actually said, but I think that's funnier. I think that makes a lot more sense than put your finger through the wound. Pull my finger. And all 12 disciples pulled his finger, and they said, "Okay, it must be Jesus." I'm going to read the beginning of Acts here. It says here, "I have dealt with all that Jesus began to do and teach." Now, it's considered that Luke wrote the book of Acts. And this is the continuation of the Gospel of Luke. And the actual Gospel of Luke is thought that Luke didn't actually write it, but that he had first-hand knowledge by this time to be able to write. He wrote from memory, or other people's stories and what have you. Not memory, but he wrote from other people's accountings for the gospel, but that he was here and present to write this. I don't know. I was not. So, he says, "I have dealt with all that Jesus began to do and teach until the day when he was taken up, after he had given commandment through the Holy Spirit to the apostles whom he had chosen. To them he presented himself alive after his passion by many proofs, appearing to them during 40 days and speaking of the kingdom of God. And while staying with them, he charged them not to depart from Jerusalem." And metaphysically, Jerusalem means peace. "Not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, 'You heard from me, for John baptized with water, but before many days you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit.'" And that's where that's what I find interesting. Now they go on to say, "Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel?" And he said to them, "It's not for you to know time or seasons, which the Father has fixed in his own authority. But you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you." Now, tells me we're not to worry about politics. We're not to worry about, because that's what restoring to Israel, that's a political thing. And, we're not to restore, or we're not to worry about the land and the sky. We're to respect it all. We're not to worry about it. We're not to limit ourselves to a time where, I love that, the seasons, spring, summer, winter, and fall. Seasons but seasons represent a time factor. We're not to concern ourselves with that, because in God there is no time. Now, I can't tell you that what I just read is historically accurate, but I can tell you it's informationally accurate. It is good information for us. A baptism of water, metaphysically, means to clear away error. To clear away error, and that makes more sense to me in the more fundamental Christian religions, where you choose to be baptized when you believe you know right from wrong. I did it when I was part of the Church of Christ. I was 12 years old, and I walked forward at the end of the service. I believe they call it the altar call, and I walked forward and I said, I know the difference. And they took me upstairs in front of everybody, and I put on a canvas suit, and they immersed me in water. Now, we don't do that here. But I'll tell you something, I knew things the next day I didn't know before. There's something to be said for ritual. There's something to be said for pageantry. There's something to be said for it, because a group conscious comes together. Our ritual of the vibration, the God vibration, we come together to do that. That's part of what we do to clear away error each week. And so, baptized first by water to clear away the error, and so it does seem a little wonky to me that you need to be baptized as an infant. So I can't even say why, but it's foolish. And I'm not here to criticize religions. I'm here to criticize certain rituals because of the thought behind them, that this child will not make it into heaven if it is not baptized as an infant. I don't understand that. That's superstition. But a cleansing, we do a lot of cleansing rituals. This one I thought of. I thought we could just baptize him like this. Come on. All I'm getting is goop on you guys. Let's try this one.
Try blowing.
Blow it.
Oh, that's very nice.
Here, I don't want you to miss out.
Yes, we need this.
Don't you feel cleansed?
Parts of me, yes.
It's we just had fun. What better pageantry than fun? To walk away from here saying, oh, yeah, they baptized me with bubbles today. We are baptized and cleansed every time we make a new thought. Every time we have a new thought that says, I'm ready to step forward into greater trust in the invisible. Every time we go within with faith that if I ask, I will be guided. Now, many of you know I went to Alabama this week to my prosperity mentor, Reverend Edwin Gaines, and I spent 3 days at her retreat center with 42 other ministers. It was a ministers only retreat. And I got a lot of great information. I took a lot of notes and things. But so much of what she kept emphasizing was, ask for guidance. Ask for guidance. Ask for guidance. And you will receive it. That is how she has demonstrated a lot. And one of the things she manifested, was a 30-acre retreat center up in the mountains in Mentone or Valley Head, Alabama. Now, some of us that would not be considered a prize. For her, it was wonderful. And for those who go there and study with her, it's really beautiful. I've never been there before. Only been to Alabama once. We went to Fairhope once, and David called a friend of his on the phone, and she said, God gave you free will and you used it to go to Fairhope, Alabama. I mean, it was the hottest place I'd ever been to in my life. It was a pretty town. And she was making a joke. But, so that was my second time in Alabama, and I'm on the back, roasted in a beautiful bed and breakfast, built in 1741, this home. And before that, it was home to the Cherokees, the whole town. And did you know that Fairhope and Fort Payne and Alleyhead is the sock capital of the world. At one time, it was all these hosiery mills. They're all gone now. But that was their industry. Well, I go there and it's everything's closed by 8 o'clock at night, and including the pizza place. But we're up on this hill, this beautiful sacred hill that Edwene has blessed many people on, and she's been blessed by. And she tells a story of the grandmothers who lived on this land. And at one time, all the children who were in the land got sick. And the grandmothers prayed, and the grandmothers died, and the children lived. But many people have seen the grandmothers on the hillside and things. I didn't see anyone. But we did a fire walk. I walked on fire Thursday night. Shush. I have not walked on fire ever. I have emotionally walked through it. But to physically take off my shoes and walk on hot coals, I've never done that before. And I did. In fact, everyone in the group did. She said, no one, that's never happened before, where every single person did it. Now, in order to prepare for that, but she was very, Edwene has walked thousands of times on fire, and she's a master fire walking teacher. She kept saying, you must ask for guidance. Can I walk on fire and not be burned? And you will get a yes or you will get a no. And she reminded us over and over again that the fire loved us, and what loves me cannot hurt me. What loves me will not hurt me. And I remembered those things. And then I had to go do a intense forgiveness process, because I knew I will not be able to walk on that fire the next day if I don't do my forgiveness work today. And Wednesday, I made a list of resentments I've been holding. It's like, oh man, I'm the minister and I've got a list this long. And I had done a lot of my forgiveness work years before, and I asked Edwene on, I think it was Wednesday afternoon, she said, does anybody want anything in prayer? And I said, yes. I want the realization of a perfect past. A perfect past. That nothing in my past needs to have changed. And she started telling me things that I had done 20 years ago with my mother, which was I thanked my mother for my past, that it was absolutely perfect. You've heard me tell the story. And I did. I said to my mom, you never have to apologize for my past. I see what it is and look at who I am because of it. It's great. It doesn't always feel great, but it is. But that was 20 years ago. I've since found some new resentments. I've since found some new past that I thought I wish had changed. And I've been holding on to it, apparently for just this moment. Because Wednesday night in my hotel room, in my lovely B&B room, I sat and talked to every single person on that list. And I spoke out loud what my grievance was. Normally I would do this with another human being, but there was no one to do that with, and I was in a hurry. So I did it prayerfully, and I talked to that person. I brought them into the room, and I spoke to them, and I understood why I have this grievance and why I don't need to hold on to it. Why there's no valid reason any longer to hold on to it. And I came down to 5 people that I couldn't take off that list. And I ended up, Thursday night, I put them on a piece of the onion skin that we burnt at the fire. I put their names on there to release them that way in my willingness to eventually talk to them. But I knew I had to do this. So then Thursday, we at 5 in the evening, and we had our daytime workshop, and at 5 in the evening, we all go down the hill. We're all allowed to wear shoes at that point. And that was another concern of mine. I'm very sensitive. Well, I'm a Piscean, and my feet are very sensitive. And I was afraid of having, how am I gonna walk through, I can't walk through the house without slippers on. How am I gonna walk through on hot coals? I didn't know. I did not know how I was going to do it. I assumed I was going to do it though. But anyway, we get down the hill, we're allowed to wear our shoes for the first part of the ritual, which was we're circling, and someone hands you a log. And you put your prayers into the log. And then you hand it to the fire tender who is building almost a cage of logs. And they put all the extras in the middle, and then they douse it in gasoline. And they each took a torch, and they set that thing on fire. And Edwin said, come closer so you know it's real. Oh, the heat from that thing was, something else. And then it took about 3 hours for it to become ready for us to walk on. So we go back up the hill, and we have lots of discussion. And then they come and say, it's ready. And as I'm going down the hill, my mother appeared to me. It was very clear it was my mother, just smiling to me. And my mother would never have done anything like this. That just wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have been on a hill in Alabama to begin with, let alone walking across hot coals. But we're walking down the hill together, and we're chanting, and we get to a certain point where we have to take our shoes off. And it was ow, 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 ow through the grass. That grass hurt. Oh, and we had 3 pieces of onion skin. One was our goals. One was what we'd like to release, and the other was anybody we had left that we had not yet found a way to experience forgiveness on. And we were to walk near the coals and put those on the coals. And after we all did that, we're walking in a circle chanting, and they pat down the coals. They rake them and then tamp them down. And Edwin was very clear. You do not walk unless you receive guidance that you can walk without being burned. And she said that she planned on being first. She liked going first. But one time she asked, can I walk on fire and not be burnt? And the voice said, not yet. I don't get to go first. She went last. She was so frustrated at that time, but this week she went first. And I watched her walk from here to here and into the pail of water, and I thought, she's not going, ow, 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 ow. She walked right across that fire. And a friend of mine I was with was third in line. And he did the same thing. It's like 4 to 5 good steps. And then the 2 tinders help you into the pail of water. And the water does not go. It's a question I've been asked a few times now. And I watch my friends doing this. They're walking right across the hot coals. And I thought, well, I guess I can. And I get up to the edge. And I took Edwin's hand. And she said, you're allowed to take my hand, but let go. She said, I've been dragged across hot coals more than once. So I took her hand and I squeezed it. I let go. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. It was horrifying, the thought of stepping onto that, even though I'd watched so many people do it. And I looked at her, and she said, you can do it. And I walked right across and into the pail. Now, one of the things that was so emotional for me is the 2 women that have worked for Edwin for over 30 years, since they were teenagers. I've had a relationship on the phone with these women for years, and they've been wonderful. Every time I've needed something from their office or to book Edwin or something, and here they were. They were thrilled to meet me this week, but they're looking right to me, and their hands are out to receive me. And so I walked across, and they took me in their arms and dipped me in the water. And so I did it again. I walked a second time. Second time I felt a couple of sparks on the side of my feet. But Edwin told us, once you're done, don't look at your feet. Don't look at your feet till tomorrow morning. Because she has seen people get out and say, I just can't believe it. And then they look at their feet and the blisters start. She has witnessed that. Don't look for trouble. So I went to bed that night, and I didn't look till the next morning, and my feet were completely normal. There was nothing, not red. Pretty pink feet. I walked through fire. She had us fill out a card when we finished. I walk through fire. I can do anything I choose. And we signed it and dated it. So that's part of going to the upper room, is recognizing we are not bound by physical law. We are not bound by what is going on around us. We are not bound by what we think others have done to us. We are not bound. It's after Easter in the upper room. We can do amazing things. Just amazing things. Where I come from, there's nothing to tell me that I could have flown to Atlanta, driven 2 hours to Valley Head, Alabama, stay in an old B&B, and then drive up on the mountain to do this retreat this week, and then walk on fire. There's nothing in my upbringing to tell me I could have done that I could have betrayed physical laws. I mean, I don't know about you. I have been known to touch the rung of an oven, the shelf of an oven, and had a scar for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I know I can be susceptible to burning. There are things that would be amazing if we did. And they don't have to be big. You know, people in this room have healed of cancer. People in this room have overcome colds. People in this room have bathed and brushed their teeth and cleaned their room and cleaned out their closets. People in this room have gotten into relationships and out of them. People in this room have walked down the street when they didn't know how they would do it. People in this room have walked up hills when they didn't know how they would do it. People in this room have done so much that they weren't brought up to believe they could ever do. And then they heard a voice that said, "You should try this." And they did it. And they found out, oh, it's within me to be able to do this. Just because my parents said it wasn't possible doesn't mean it wasn't possible for me. It wasn't possible for them because they said so. And they thought, my parents thought they would keep me down here because if I proved otherwise, that might mean they had to go take a risk or whatever. Amazing things. An amazing thing to do is something you thought you couldn't do, is doing something you didn't know how to do and you did it anyway. How many of us could pass an accounting course? I did that a few years ago because I found the right people to help me. Because I wanted to become a minister and I could not get into Unity Seminary without taking an accounting course. So I got online and signed up for an accounting course. Within the first week, I thought, I'm done. There is no way we'll have to take our church out of the Unity movement. So I'm not going to be able to finish this. Oh, you've heard the story. On Saturday, I had 600 words for a 1,000-word report that was due. And no ideas for anything else. And I thought, and this is the end of the first week. There's no way. And I went out on our back porch. I thought, I need to sweep the back porch. We were having people over the next day. And as I'm sweeping, I got a panic attack. I knew exactly what it was. And I just said, don't panic over the panic. And then I put my foot down and I said, okay, God, here's how I see it. Either send somebody to that front door right now who says, I will take this course for you, Shawn. Or give me a lot of knowledge I don't currently know that I have to be able to do all this. Or we could just take the church out of the movement and be an independent New Thought church. Those are my three that I could think of. And I thought, well, I need a nap. So I went upstairs and I sat on the bed and I thought, give examples in that report. And I ran downstairs. I said, as the minister, I need this type of financial report. As a congregant, I would need this type. As a board member, I would need this type of financial reports. And I had over 1,000 words. I was done for the week. And then I had another idea. Carol Dobbs is a CPA. And I called her up and I said, Carol, would you do the physical homework in this course and then meet with me on Thursday nights and explain to me what you did? I'll pay you $20 an hour and take you out to dinner. And I'll do all of the online discussion. We got an A-. I had divine ideas. I wasn't looking to be an accountant. Some people say, you cheated. No, I didn't. I needed to take an accounting course. I found someone who could explain the work to me. It wasn't like I was supposed to figure all that stuff out by myself, nor am I going to be an accountant. I needed to get through that to get to this. And I found a way. And Carol said, oh, I can tutor. It spurred her on to skills that she wanted to demonstrate and hadn't yet found a way. And she got dinner for 6 weeks. And a nice conversation with the minister. And we had a great relationship. There are ways to do amazing things. Amazing things. I can't encourage you enough to keep praying, to keep asking for guidance, especially around what you fear. And say, can I walk through the fire without being burned? And if the answer is yes, you walk through that fire. I don't care what it is, if it's having a child, if it's getting into a relationship, if it's tithing, if it's whatever. Do what ought to be done by you so that you can know God is my source. God is my strength. I don't know how all this can happen, but I know that it can. Thank you.